Hey y'all, how are you doing? I'm great. Thank you so much for asking. It's me, Kim, and I'm back for another video. I knew as soon as I heard the audio clip that I was going to come on here and talk about this. So here we are. I felt like T.I. is a benevolent misogynist for a long time. I feel like we give him unnecessary passes. I think that his behavior with Tiny over these past, 10, 15 years has been disgusting and despicable. I think that he has shown himself to be a committed sexist on that family show of his over and over again. So I have had a rant on my heart about T.I. sexism literally for years. And I think I'm not happy that this stuff with his daughter has come up because unfortunately she is going to be harassed about it, and it must be so embarrassing. I mean, everything is already embarrassing when you're a teenager, but to have your father and then millions of strangers talking about your body and your sex life, it's so unnecessarily traumatic. So I'm going to go out of my way not to say her name, but I am going to play the clip. I said earlier, T.I. is a benevolent misogynist. And I think of a benevolent misogynist as a man who believes that he's doing women a favor by treating women unfairly, or by treating women like we're less than, or like we're incapable, or he thinks that he's helping us by enforcing sexist double standards, and T.I. does that a lot. And there are a lot of benevolent misogynists in hip hop, by the way. I could name some names, but we won't go into it. Okay, I think Kendrick Lamar is one. But anyways, we're not gonna go into it. This is about T.I. Okay, so yesterday a clip from a podcast emerged, and I'm not even really gonna name the podcast because they're irrelevant, and I don't really want to give them any shine. But T.I. was on that podcast talking about how every year he takes his daughter to the gynecologist to check to see if her hymen is intact, because he wants to make sure that she's not having sex. So they have since taken down that podcast episode and apologized. But I've been on the internet for a long time and I know how this works. So I downloaded it. So we're going to have a listening session right now. Okay.
It's Deja, right? She's 18,
yes,
right?
Deja's
Yes.
18, just graduated high school now, and she's attending her first year of college, figuring it out for herself. And yes, not only have we had the conversation, we have yearly trips to the gynecologist to check her height.
Oh, hey, I'm done with you right now.
So, you know,
Do you go with her? She's a prisoner.
Yes, I go with her.
Somebody check on Deja.
I go with her.
She's a prisoner.
So let me tell you, right? So this is one time we go. I think this might have been after her 16th birthday. And this is what we do. Like, right after the birthday, we celebrate. And,
we go and check her hymen after.
And then,
what the fuck?
Usually like the day after the party, she's enjoying her gifts. I put a sticky note on the door. Gyno. Tomorrow, 9:30.
Oh, this is great.
And so look, right? So we'll go, you know what I mean? We'll go and we'll sit down, and then the doctor will come and talk. And, the doctor's maintaining a high level of professionalism. Mm-hmm. He's like, well, sir, I have to, in order for me to share information. I say, Deja, they want you to sign this. They want you to sign this right now.
I need to know if your hymen's still there.
So we can share information. Is there anything that you would not want me to know? Oh, okay. See, Doc, ain't no problem.
You are the worst.
And so then, right? Then they come and say, okay, well, I just want you to know that there are other ways besides sex that the hymen can be broken.
Right.
Like bike riding,
Really?
athletics, horseback riding.
That's aggressive. That is aggressive
And,
writing.
just other forms of athletic physical activity.
Is she an athlete?
No. So,
There you
so
go.
I say,
You're like, sorry,
I say,
doctor,
look,
that's
I say,
not a
look, doc.
possibility.
I say, look, doc.
She's not.
She don't ride no horses. She don't ride no bike. She don't play no sports, man. Just check the hymen, please, and give me back my results
Oh, dude.
expeditiously.
Expeditiously.
But I will say, as of her 18th birthday, her hymen is still intact.
Deja, you are an angel.
Did you hear how this man said, check the hymen and give me back my results? Like he's inspecting a horse? Like this is an animal? This is some Handmaid's Tale shit. I am so disgusted by that, and I'm disgusted by those two women for laughing in the background. This is an ongoing issue with women who get these sexist ass men and they interview them, and then they give these men a platform to say that disgusting shit, and nobody intervenes. Nobody. You can be professional and say, "Ooh, that's a little," you don't, right? Do all of the women do that? Why? Okay. So anyways, just a reminder that we are talking about an 18-year-old. She is in her first year of college. So I don't know why they removed it. I mean, stand up in it. I'm with the Yanla, right? Stand up in your bullshit. Don't try to take it back now. We already heard it. Anyways, first of all, why brag about that? Why pride yourself in that? Why? We have to really think deeply about what's going on in a culture where a father views his daughter's intact hymen, which, whatever, as a source of pride. What's going on there? And people swear to me that patriarchy doesn't exist. People swear to me that I'm just making it up and we've gone past that. No, that is a sterling example of patriarchal domination right there. Okay. Also, you don't care about putting your kids, okay. So I am 100% comfortable with calling that abuse. I'm 100%. I know that on the Breakfast Club today, DJ Envy and Charlemagne tried to laugh it off or dismiss it, saying that we're mad at T.I. for being an involved father. Absolutely not. That is absolutely abuse. And I'm sorry, but just being a present father is not enough to get a pat on the back from me. You can be present and be fucking your kids up. You can be present and doing all sorts of damage and instilling all sorts of terrible ideas in their head that they're going to have to spend the rest of their life undoing. One of the reasons why so many women, particularly Black women, have issues regarding our sexualities and why we have to spend our adult lives trying to work through it and get free and liberate ourselves is because of the disgusting notions, the deeply ingrained shame that we have been taught about our bodies and about sexualities. This shit is natural. And maybe you don't want your child, your daughter, to go out there and feel like she has to have sex with everybody who comes along, right? Because we get those pressures too. We get the pressure of, yeah, go sleep with them so he'll know that you love him. Sleep with him so that you can be cool or be popular. That's one thing, right? We want to empower girls to make the best decisions for themselves. We want to empower girls and young women, because T.I.'s daughter is now a young woman. We want them to know your body is yours, okay? If you don't want to do it, don't do it. Don't feel pressure. At the same time, you should feel empowered. You should know that whatever choice that you decide to make, it's yours. Your hymen does not belong to your father. What in the... Okay. I think that is borderline incestuous. I've thought for a long time that the preoccupation that men have with the sexual lives of their daughters is weird. I come from the South where there is a deeply ingrained evangelical culture. They be having purity balls and the fathers give their daughters the purity rings. And I'm like, it is fucking strange. It is strange. There are other ways to communicate the idea that you love your daughter, that you value her, that she is precious, that there are other ways to instill in her a sense of self-worth other than this bizarre obsession with virginity, which itself is a myth. It is a myth. Virginity is a social construct created to control women's bodies. Virginity was created to say, sex is nasty. Don't devalue yourself by engaging in this 100% natural acts. Ignore your natural instincts and urges, because if you do, you're going to be dirty and nasty and God's not going to like you and men are going to look at you strange. Okay. So I'm going to go and just answer that question real fast. Oh, why is this taking so long? Okay. Furious Citizen says men don't have the right to question a woman on what she does, her body. That goes for fathers too. Oh, men don't have a right to question a woman on what she does with her body. That goes for fathers too. Look, I am totally fine with fathers taking an active, involved role in helping young women understand sex, sexuality, and reproductive health. That is not what that is. That is not what that is. In fact, T.I. seems like the type of man who would go with his daughter to the gynecologist and only ask about the intact hymen and not ask about the huge range of other reproductive health stuff that taking care of a maturing body requires. T.I. seems like the type of man who still calls a period like, oh, that time of the month or your monthly or some other, old school sexist shit. Okay. Next. Sorry, I am really worked up over this. Oh, my other note was the idea of intimidating your daughter to hand over access to her medical records. It's gross. It's invasive. I think that any doctor who is involved with that needs to be questioned. A part of me almost feels like he's not telling the truth. I know that virginity checks are a thing. Look, from where I'm from, I know. But it almost feels like this is like a weird fantasy that he has in his mind, because I just can't. What type of doctor would be like, oh, okay, this is what we're going to do? I'm sure they're out there, but I find that to be really disgusting. Another thing that I thought while I was listening to that is, anybody who watches my channel knows that I'm deeply invested in decarceration, in tearing down the prison system. What T.I. is describing sounds like if that were to happen in a prison, like if an incarcerated woman were to say, the warden or whoever asked my gynecologist about my vagina or my hymen or whatever, there would be protests in the street. There would be a mass movement against that. We don't even treat prisoners like that. The idea that so many parents feel like their children are property. They feel like they treat their children like prisoners. They surveil them. They treat them with distrust. And there is a particular kind of mistrust that happens with girls. Because T.I. also has 3 or 4 boys, and we know he's not acting like that with the boys. In fact, it has a clip from his show has circulated where his 14-year-old son, they're on the beach, and the 14-year-old, I think he's 15 now. But when he was 14, the son was like, oh, I've already had sex. And T.I. laughed. So is sex the issue, or is girlhood, womanhood the issue. So sex only devalues women. Is that what you want to teach to your daughters? That sex, that her hymen is the gift that she's meant to give to the world? And once your hymen is no longer intact, that you're damaged, that you're dirty? Meanwhile, your boys are right there and they're bragging about their sex lives. 14-year-olds? But they're not devalued and they've had sex. So boys get to keep their value no matter what. It's only girls. Okay. I'm going to go back to the question. Sai says, I grew up as a Christian and abstinence from was always encouraged. Do you think those values and misogyny are linked? Yeah. So I think that purity culture is particularly pernicious for girls. I think that this obsession, so I've definitely, in the kind of evangelical purity cultures that I've been exposed to, yeah, boys do it too, right? Like the Jonas Brothers made the big deal about wearing the purity rings and now they were all fucking, right? Like they were lying, right? But it is much more so directed at girls because girls are the people who have to bear the burden of being pure, of being morally upright. You know, girls are supposed to make sure that boys act right. Like we have to bear the burden not only of our own bodies, which we're taught to be ashamed of, but we also have to be responsible for the sexual urges of boys. Thank you, Jaleesa. Furious Citizen says, those values are linked to misogyny. They act like women are property to be controlled, while men are just praised because older men want to be the first for young women. Yeah. Anything else? Did I miss anything? Thank you, Kelly. I think I missed one more thing. Okay. Let's go back to my notes. Sorry, I'm wearing a sweatshirt. I'm hot. Okay. I have another note that, Offred would be disgusted. Shout out to Handmaid's Tale, even though the third season was terrible. Virginity is not an achievement. Virginity is not an accomplishment. I think it's so fascinating. When we're having these conversations about sexuality right now, I certainly think that we need to give girls the opportunity to say yes and no on their own terms. But if we're just talking, there's so much kind of hysteria about teenagers and sex. But if you really look back in history, the delay of sexual activity, or the emphasis on the delay of sexual activity, is new. It's new. Right now, there have been a couple of articles about, the sex recession. Millennials and the older cohort of Gen Z are having a lot less sex than the generations who came before us. And there's all sorts of reasons for that. I mean, we don't be going out, okay? She says that she sits on her living room floor alone. Yeah. But if you look back historically at the age of first sexual experience that's been documented, particularly in the United States, the age of first child in the United States, go back 50, 60 years, it was teens. Your grandma and your grandpa were fucking as teenagers. Okay, now they were getting married and they were having babies, but they were fucking. And I forget that this is supposed to be a product and this is going to be demonetized. But yeah, yes. And I understand now we're worried about STDs, we're worried about pregnancy and how that can derail your lives. But this idea that we have to pretend like sex and teenagers is so unnatural. It's like, no, we just our society has changed. It's shifted and maybe we want to behave differently. But humans are still humans in 2019. It is completely natural for girls, boys, non-binary people to have sexual desires, sexual urges, and for them to want to explore that via sex. And I don't have kids, don't have a desire to have children, but I do think that we are doing children a disservice by not explaining to them People are out here fucking because it's fun. It's enjoyable, right? You want to do it wisely. You want to protect yourself, particularly if you are a young woman and susceptible to all this stuff. You don't just want to, be out here or whatever. But there is a way to be sexually active and to be safe. There is a way to be sexually active and to be empowered and to feel good about yourself and to feel good about your partner. There's a way to do that. And I feel like you think that lying to kids about it is going to do something. No. Kids are fucking, okay? They're just gonna go around you to do it. The other thing about this is, let's say this young girl's hymen is intact, which, whatever. That ain't the only kind of sex, okay? That is not the only kind of sex. So maybe penetrative sex is not what she is participating in or whatever, but it's a whole lot of other stuff. And it's a whole lot of other stuff leading up to penetrative sex. So what kind of conversations are you having about that? Because you can get HPV all kinds of ways. Back to the questions. Okay. Okay, I also have a note that says you're not ready to parent if you're not comfortable with the idea that your children are full humans, that they're going to have these desires, that they're going to behave in ways that maybe you're not totally comfortable with, that they're going to do stuff that makes you uncomfortable. Okay, I see a new question. Let me go on over. Moore's Domain says, this may have traumatized her, and I hope she finds a safe space. I'm 25 and still haven't done said action because the thought of it makes me feel uncomfortable and shamed. My heart goes out to her. Absolutely. I think it's quite interesting that people have noticed that on Twitter that T.I.'s daughter has been liking comments that have been criticizing her father. Now, she knows that we can see those comments. So it's pretty clear that she is not comfortable or she does not approve. Maybe she doesn't approve of the action. Maybe she doesn't approve of him sharing it publicly. But we know how likes work. Ariel Davis says he's honestly showing her ahead of time that she has to be comfortable with having no voice over what she wants. Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that it is imperative that we have conversations with younger women about sex and sexuality. And if you're so worried about the way that your daughter is going to interact with young men in the world, I think one thing, a major thing that T.I. could do, T.I., famed philanderer and womanizer, could do, is to model healthy love and healthy relationships. But what we have is T.I. modeling not only philandering, okay, he's been laying it low and spreading it wide all around Atlanta for the past 15 years, but he is also modeling for her control, invasiveness, surveillance. Now, is that how you want your child to interact with potential boyfriends, potential mates, potential partners? No. But you think all of this surveillance stuff, this 1984 stuff is going to stop it. No, you're creating sneakiness. And a note on T.I. the philanderer. When I was doing research for this, I had to do a lot to piece together T.I.'s, the kids that he's had, the relationships that he's had. T.I. is a hoe. He out here hoeing. And it could be that his hoeing is what makes him so concerned and paranoid about what his teenage daughter is doing. Maybe. But T.I. had a child in 2000. He had 2 kids in 2001, one of whom was the daughter he's talking about. 2 different women. And then he got with a 3rd woman, Tiny, in 2001. And had another child the next year. Okay, out here. Not only that, we have seen T.I. embarrass his wife, Tiny, over and over and over again because he wants to be a hoe. So many times Tiny has been out here crying on social media, crying in songs, crying on the TV show because her husband will not stop fucking other women. So if you want your daughter to know what it is to be valued and cherished, why not start that in the home? It doesn't start in the gynecologist's office. Okay. Okay. $10 from Elias. Thank you so much. Back to my notes. So I think a thing is that a lot of parents do view their children as extensions of themselves, not like full autonomous humans. And it seems that T.I. feels like that if his daughter is having sex, then that reflects poorly on him as a parent. Whereas he doesn't care about if his sons have sex because that does not reflect poorly. I mean, like, it's like attaboy for the children. That's like another notch under his belt. He can live vicariously through his children, right? His own hoeing, sorry, I'm tearing up. I'm not crying. I don't know. I think it's allergies. But now that he has children, male children who are old enough to go off and be as promiscuous as he is, he gets to live vicariously through them. Okay. Sorry. I'm trying to get to the other. Oh, thank you, Amanda. Okay. Do I have anything other? Oh, I do hope that like his daughter is having, obviously, like, she didn't get any positive sexual modeling or pep talks in the home, but I do hope that somewhere that she is getting some counseling, some good counsel, some guidance on how to navigate your body and your sexuality. I mean, that stuff can definitely be very confusing. Pleasure is important, you know? And children, young people know this, young people understand that, but like, it's a real mind fuck when you're having to navigate like, oh, this thing makes me feel good, but I've been told that it's bad. And I would hope, I guess my hope is that like in 2019 and beyond, we would get past this idea that we have to teach children that bodies are nasty or that pleasure is something to be ashamed of in order to keep them safe. But unfortunately, some people they're behind. T.I. has not joined us in 2019. Oh, the other thing he's not joined us in 2019 about is I felt for so long that I want for Tiny to leave T.I., but I think that she likes the lifestyle or whatever, but he's so controlling of her. T.I. has even said about Tiny, like, oh, like, he's referred to Tiny's vagina as a sex box, and he said, oh, your sex box is half mine. So it's obvious to me that like T.I.'s relationship to women and sexuality is one of domination. It is one of control. It's one of ownership. And there is no room for women's satisfaction and pleasure when you are dealing with a man who views you primarily through the lens of, I own this. That is mine. So I truly hope Tiny is out here fucking. It's too late. I've already said the word fucking too many times to take it back. We're just gonna have to go with it now. Let's see. Anything else? I think that's all I have on that. I think that's my rant. I find that to be disgusting. I find the number of men who are co-signing that to be disgusting. The idea that that is the only way to treat your children. Y'all fucking up your kids. You're fucking up your kids. And then your kids go out in the world and do fucked up shit. So stop it. Okay, thank you, DW. Thank you, Emma. Let's get to the questions. What, that was only 30 minutes? That was a good 30-minute rant. Let's get to the questions. Yes, T.I. does have community dick. Why isn't the doctor informing him that the logic is outdated? Maybe the doctor has tried to talk to him, but T.I. don't be listening to shit. All T.I. be doing is reading dictionaries and using words out of context, okay? Like, Domino Harley says, I truly respect you and all the work that you do, including the scholarships. Keep up the good work. Sending love from Brooklyn, NYC. Thank you so much. I understand Tiny is not her biological mother, but she still is her mother figure. I don't know. I mean, there are so many women in T.I.'s orbit. I don't blame Tiny. I'm sure that she has many battles to fight with T.I. in her home. What would be the best way to get over sexual trauma put on you by your parents? Gosh, I always hope my parents don't watch this because I'm sure they always think I'm talking shit. Um, so I would say that I've been going to therapy since I was 22. So it's 8 years, almost 9 years. And therapy has done a lot to help me unpack the shame that I've been carrying around from childhood. Shame not only about sex in my body, but shame about all other sorts of stuff. And I think that talking to other people about the messages, or I'll say a trained professional, but also your peers, about some of the damaging messages that you've internalized really has helped me be like, oh, that was wrong. You know, having a therapist, an objective voice to be able to explain all my traumas to, and her saying, you know, that's not right. Was it? Don't you, you know that you don't have to keep carrying that, right? I'll also say, and I've talked about this on Patreon, I did go on an extended rant about this on Patreon, is I have developed a very healthy relationship to my sexuality as an adult via feminism. Feminism and feminist theory, and reading the works of feminist authors that I respect, and being in community with other feminist women really has helped me be confident in saying what I like, saying what I don't like, engaging in mutual pleasure with partners. And I don't want to say more than that. I do not. Thank you. Thanks to all the people who are giving. He's also attempted to rebrand as a social justice champion. How will that change his image now? So the thing about T.I. and so many other of the benevolent misogynists is their understanding of liberation, their understanding of social justice requires women to be subordinates. They do not, in their mind, imagine liberation as a project where women stand equally with men. And they've made it clear over and over again. One of the reasons why I do not fuck with T.I. and this social justice rebrand, and all of the other pro-black men who have tried to rebrand themselves as race warriors, is because they make it clear anytime they open their mouths that they view women as sexual objects. Or I listened to the episode of T.I.'s podcast with his wife. They view women as who are gold diggers just out for money. Women are just trying to use men to get what they want. And it's like, what type of messaging is that? If you are familiar with history, Black history at all, social movements at all, you know that women have been integral in the leadership that has been necessary for us to secure rights in this country and globally. If your understanding, if your framework for social justice requires women to be 2 steps back, you're fucking it up. You need to do more reading. You need to be in communities, because that's not how it works. They imagine social justice liberation as a project to restore Black manhood. But where does that leave Black women? It leaves Black women vulnerable to being inspected like horses. Sorry, I'm yelling. Love Tammy says, I find this disgusting on so many levels because the world is worse than a jungle. So unfair to say the least. He should create this drama and leave others in peace. I'm sorry, I have to. Yeah. Would it have been okay if her mother did it? No. No, it wouldn't have been okay. And I think that I have some questions for the daughter's mother as well. In fact, I would say that many times when it comes to, in the many conversations that I've had with Black women, because we're talking about Black women here right now, about this, I think mothers are some of the worst when it comes to transmitting messages that our sexuality is dirty and shameful. And they feel like they're doing it to protect us. They don't want, I mean, the history of Black women being susceptible to rape and coercion is one such that for a long time, Black women felt that it was their responsibility to try to protect Black girls by telling us that sex is nasty and dirty and that masturbation is nasty and dirty and that the only legitimate sexuality is like the one ordained by God or whatever, and like that can only happen in the confines of marriage when, you know, you're after you've graduated from college. And it's like, but let's be realistic. What's that mean? It's not realistic. Okay. I've been reading Act Like a Lady, Think Like a Man. It sounds like a woman like Kim would not agree with this book. What are your thoughts? So I've actually read Act Like a Lady, Think Like a Man. I bootlegged it in college. We circulated it when I was in college. It's conservative patriarchal teachings. But you know what I find to be so funny? And you know what I find to be so fascinating? Is Steve Harvey wrote that book, I don't know, about a decade ago, telling all of us what to do and to keep the cookie locked up in the cookie jar and all that so men will respect us. Yet his adopted daughter, Lori Harvey, is out here getting her motherfucking life with every high profile man in entertainment. Now, I'm not mad at Lori for being gorgeous and sexy and doing whatever the hell she wants to do in Los Angeles. It's just funny to me that while Steve Harvey, for the past 10, 12 years, was out here telling us that we need to be chaste and wait 90 days in order to live happy, fulfilled lives, the girl that he adopted, the girl that he is raising as his daughter, seems to have completely eschewed all of that. She not fucking with that. So why should we buy into that and go with what Steve Harvey is saying when he couldn't even get the people who he has the most access to buy into that shit? Now, what kind of salesman of ideas are you if you can't even get the person whose bills you're paying to buy into that? Sorry, my nose is running. Sorry, nasty. All right. Scott Gardner says, as a father of 3 girls, I find this to be deplorable. This is why I support Iggy Azalea. Okay, no, we're not going there. Dreading when the girl grows up and reads about this. I mean, 18-year-olds are on the internet more than we are. So I'm sure that she's heard about it. Like, she knows. And I think that that's unfortunate. And not only does she know, but all of the people that she's in college with know, and all of her teachers know, and like all the random people that she's ever interacted with ever in her life know. That's humiliating. Raven says, I am a victim of this purity culture and I'm just now overcoming some of the damage it brought. Oh, okay. Shouldn't the doctor have interfered? I hope that the doctor did. Kim, what do you think about more billionaires like Michael Bloomberg entering the Democratic primary? I'm against it. No, we don't need that. Now, I will say that I was listening to, I haven't had an allergy attack like this in a long time. It's been a minute since my allergies did this to me on a live video. I don't know what's going on. Anyways, I will say that I was listening to The Daily yesterday, and it did make me concerned about Elizabeth Warren. I do have concerns about Elizabeth Warren now. But no, we don't need more billionaires in the Democratic national primary. So are you saying keeping your kids from having sex is not okay? I'm saying, first of all, you can't keep your kids from doing shit. First of all, okay? I know, look, we've all been teenagers. We've all been teenagers. Now, all teenagers do not have sex. People develop at their own time. People make different decisions for different reasons. However, just because your parents say that they don't want you to do something ain't gonna stop you from doing it if you're a teenager and you have access to cars, empty houses, a little bit of money like a rich famous person's children would have. So what you can do is have a conversation with your kid about what you think is the smartest decision. But this idea that you're going to stop an 18-year-old from doing what they want to do, especially when they don't live in your house, stop it. Be real. Can we be honest about how serious sex is? It's fun, but a huge responsibility. I agree. We can, and we should. But there's healthy ways to do it. Treating your children like animals is not the way to do it. And I also think we need to be honest about the fact that you can try to relay the message that sex is this huge responsibility all day long. You know, get out the charts. I know that when I was a senior in high school, I did a program where sat with a group of girls and they went through the slides and showed us all of the STD pictures and whatever. But the STD pictures are not going to stop every single person from having sex. People going to do what they want. As a queer teen in the South, I had a completely different experience with sexuality. Okay. What do you think would be the best points to bring up to someone with some of these misogynistic values? Asking as an 18-year-old with a father and brother who are very misinformed. I don't know. I'm going to have to say I'm not sure what the best points are. I think that sometimes, particularly when it comes to when you're dealing with people who are very, very religious, that you might not be able to win them over. Like, I'm comfortable saying, like, we're just not going to agree on stuff. So I think if I were an 18-year-old and I was in a situation where I wanted to have sex and be sexually active and there were no adults, I would go by myself to a Planned Parenthood. Yeah, I still believe in Planned Parenthood, still support Planned Parenthood. That's where I got my first birth control. Do not regret it one bit. Ain't got no kids, so it worked. Okay, shout out to Planned Parenthood. Child free over here, right? Find an adult you can trust, a healthcare provider you can trust. But yeah, like sometimes you're just not going to be able to change the minds of adults. Thank you, Sam. Do you think sex education in schools should be compulsory? Yes, but like real sex education, comprehensive sex education. I went to schools where sex ed was sex is bad, don't have sex. That's not, it ain't working. Okay, any other questions? My mom was hard on my sister and she ended up getting pregnant her senior year of high school. She gave me the talk and gave me my space to make my own decisions, and I'm STD free with no kids. Yeah. Parents need to stop thinking they can absolutely control everything their children do. They're not these logically infallible deities, and they need to stop teaching kids that that's how it works. Yeah. It should come as no surprise that men are co-signing. Trump becoming president should have taught y'all there is no unity in this country. Okay. Let's also be honest about the fact that there is a double standard. People often encourage their sons but shame their daughters for being sexual beings. Yes, that is absolutely true. Speak Your Piece by Kentara Williams. That's true. And so I think T.I. is a wonderful example of this, where he is high-fiving his 14-year-old and laughing with his 14-year-old when he talks about having sex. But the thing is, who are your teenage sons having sex with? They doing it, if they're having sex with girls, hopefully they're not having sex with grown women. They're having sex with other teenage girls. So is it okay for other people's daughters to be devalued? It's just not okay for your kids? What type of message are you sending, not just to your daughters, but to your sons? And it's like, we talk now about, we're finally having these conversations about consent and rape culture and all that, which I doubt T.I. is doing what he needs to do in regards to conversations about consent, but whatever. But our culture is slowly evolving, but it needs to be more than don't rape. We need to have all kinds of far-ranging and deep conversations about what it means to respect women and girls as fully autonomous people, as multifaceted people who maybe want sex, maybe want orgasms, maybe desire pleasure. And that there's nothing wrong with that. My mother did this to me at about 14, and it made me feel like purity was above all, which has created shame and left me unsupported when I became sexually active. Yeah. Jeannie Mai defended T.I. Because Jeannie Mai is now dating Young Jeezy, and I bet that they all hang out in the same circles. But, Jeannie Mai is suspect. That's all I'll say about that. Now I'm never going to be on The Real. Thanks, guys. Okay. Spellman Pictures. Here we go. Thank you for giving me money for this, though. First of all, it's none of our business if her father or mother want to go to the doctor. And until we get our child, please stay out of T.I. and daughter's life. Okay, well, we need to grammatically check these comments, but it's our business because T.I. made it our business. T.I. was bragging about the fact that he checks his daughter's hymen on a publicly accessible platform. We would not be talking about this. It would not be internet fodder for millions of people if not for T.I. thinking that it was cool to brag about his daughter's virginity. And we don't even know if she's a virgin. He did this. So now it is our business. Sorry. But thank you for the money. If I had a daughter, I would never intrude. Let me show this. Okay. If I had a daughter, I would never intrude on her private life. It's gross to see T.I. doing this. I'm lucky my dad taught me the whole thing. He made me aware of sex and sexuality. I'm grateful to him. Thoughts on how this ideology affects women who are sexually assaulted as their first time? I'd have to think about that. Sexual assault is not my first experience with sex, so I probably am not the authority on that. But I do think one thing that I can say as somebody who has had experience with sexual assault is when you are trying to untangle all of the horrible messages about sex and sexuality in your body while trying to deal with being assaulted, things get very muddied. And it's really easy to internalize that, if sex is already dirty and nasty, and now you've been forced to engage in a sexual act against your will, now you have to internalize all of the shame that would accompany the dirty, shameful act, and feeling like you brought an assault upon yourself and dealing with what did you do wrong, because we already live in a victim-blaming culture when it comes to sexual assault. But yeah, I'd have to think about that a little bit more. What time is it? 51 minutes. We got 9 more minutes of this. Thank you, P. Martin. Please read Breath, Eyes, Memory by Edwidge Danticott. This practice is part of the book's theme. I think I mispronounced her name, but I've only seen it. I've never said it out loud. Have your views on Kamala Harris changed? She nailed it in her last speech. My views on Kamala Harris have not changed. Truth in Love 3 says, I moved back home last year and my mom is still trying to get me to live out her purity beliefs at 29. I will say that I think that, you know what? I don't want to say this because I don't want to put my mom out there, but actually, I'm not going to say it. I'm not trying to embarrass people on the internet, but I will say that I think my mom is dealing with similar things. But now I feel like we're grown. I'm grown. My sister's grown. We're too grown to even, she be saying that stuff. And I'm like, I'm 30. I'm sorry. I'm 30, okay? Okay? It's like, my sister has 2 children, okay? Like, it's too late. It's too late. Kat Ingram says, I was sexually assaulted as my first experience. The damaged part wishes I had a father who cared about protecting me. The whole part of me knows that T.I. isn't doing his family any favors. Yeah, but here's my thing. Here's my thing about the patriarchal notion of protection, right? So I think that in families, in communities, and friendships, we look out for each other. Right? That's an integral part of being connected with other people. It's an integral part of being I love you, so we're gonna care for each other. I'm gonna help you be the best you can be. That's natural and normal. The problem that I have with the patriarchal construction of protection is it requires a man saying, I own you. It requires a man saying, I'm deeply invested in what happens to you because I own you. when T.I. was talking in the podcast about let me see my results, it's not about his daughter being a woman who should be respected. He wants to protect her because that's an extension of himself. And I think in many ways that's not healthy. 22 Yellow Law says the South has high divorce rates because young people are getting married so that they can have sex without shame. But when it comes to the actually married life, they are not prepared. I mean, look, I definitely come from a culture where people get married like right after college graduation. And I know a lot of divorcees. What I can say is there is no way that if I got married at 22, I would still be married. In many ways, I'm the same person, and in many ways, I'm a completely different person. I know myself now. I'm so comfortable and self-assured, and I definitely wouldn't be having the orgasms I needed to have if I had gotten married at 22, okay? So, do what you need to do, but I'm glad. I think that there are many benefits to waiting. And actually, I'm not going to go off into the changing in marriage patterns and all of that, but our culture is shifting so that people are getting married later. And that is contributing to lower divorce rates. Do you listen to spoken word poetry? Only when I'm forced to. T.I. wants to keep his daughter away from the kind of man he is. He should have just been a better man. Oof. Come on, Gia. Oh, no. Come on, Siobhan. That's true. Okay. We're almost at an hour. Woo. I didn't do my Flonase today. Ophelia says, I'm going to read a compliment. I just want to say you've genuinely helped me grow as a Black woman, and I aspire to be as educated and self-aware as you. Thank you so much. Let me just say I have a lot of shit to work through still. It's a journey for me. It's a journey for everybody else, okay? My shit is fucked up too. I just have a better handle on how to navigate it. Hey Young World says, I have to recommend Secret Survivors by Sue Bloom. Okay. The Black community raises sons they don't want their daughters to be with. Now, that is a motherfucking... Man. Okay. What happened to HIPAA laws? I thought parents weren't allowed. Parents are allowed as long as the patient signs off on it. Shani says, I got married at 23, a year out of college. Didn't intend for it to be that soon, but just happened. But I intended for that to happen at 30. We got to do what we think is right, though. Yeah, do what you think is right. Why do people keep telling Black women to date outside their race? I have a couple videos on this. You should check them out. Is it possible to be a good activist if you just use Twitter and don't go out and protest? I mean, I think that, yeah, I think it is possible to be a good activist. I mean, I feel like when we're having these conversations about Twitter activism or whatever, I think that those conversations are also like strangely ableist, right? There are a not insignificant cohort of people who can't go outside and protest, that they're using the tools that they have accessible to them to do work. Now, do I think that social media is the only avenue that we should be using to make change? No. But I am so baffled by how in 2019, when we see how the world has changed, in part because of social media, when we see how social media has been such a critical organizing tool, the people still try to minimize it. But no, we need to use social media in conjunctions with other forms of activism and organizing. I don't know anybody who thinks that we should only be on Twitter all day. No, like, it's multiple things. And multiple different people have different skill sets. Let's acknowledge and honor that. Let us in there. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate you. The devil is a lie, and so are allergies. Thanks for sticking it out. I didn't say, I'm wearing a merch sweatshirt. I have to do my announcements now. I'm wearing a merch sweatshirt. This is the same design. I'm great. Thank you so much for asking. It's a sweatshirt, super comfy. That's my big forehead on there. shopforharriet.com. Obviously, you don't have to support me monetarily in any way. I do not expect that. You don't have to give money for me to answer a question. I do not expect that. Watching these videos is more than enough. Still accepting submissions for the newsletter. I picked the first For Harriet grant winner. Her name is Naya Hardaway. Go over to the community page. I am casting for an upcoming video with Gen Z. Go over to the community page. We making moves. We trying to grow and do new shit and like innovative shit on this channel. That's what I'm trying to do. I've got to go take some Zyrtec. I've got to go to bed. Thank you guys. Also, if you have any acid reflux remedies, leave them in the comments. Bye. It's not working. Oh, here we go.